Hey guys, it's Tiny Logan back with another video for you. Today, this is kind of a guide really. This is a beginner's guide to water cooling. What I'm going to try and do is go through all the parts that you need, explain how to work out what parts you're going to need, as in to buy the separate parts, fit it and test it. So this could end up being quite a long video. So if you're looking for a 2-minute video, you might want to go and get a cup of tea and some biscuits and put a cushion on your chair. But basically, I got this as a kit from the guys at Special Tech. Basically, Special Tech, I've known them for years now, and they're my favoured UK water cooling supplier. So if you're looking for something like this, go and have a look at Special Tech. This beginner's kit is only £100, and the only other thing that you need to buy apart from getting this, and it comes with everything, is coolant. And the reason why they don't send it with coolant is because then you can obviously buy the colour that you want. But anyway, what I'm going to do is go through each different part and explain stuff, because there's a lot of things that people get worried about. But what we'll do is we'll start straight away with the radiator. There are several different types of radiators. You have the multi-radiators, so you can have lots of different fans on them. Obviously, the more fans that you've got, the more cooling ability that you've got. But something that I do need to stress is, for argument's sake, if you're cooling your CPU, you don't need a quad radiator for it, because you'll only get be able to cool. Say there's a thing called ambient temperature, which is the temperature of your room. Your lowest temperatures will only ever be within a couple of degrees above the ambient temperature. No matter how many radiators that you have, you could have 25 different radiators in a loop and you still won't get any lower. So you'll get to a point where your cooling is at its limits and your temperatures will not drop anymore. So bear that in mind. You don't need millions of different, millions of radiators to be able to cool it. What you need to do is work out how much heat you're going to have to dissipate. If you've got for argument's sake, a pair of 480s, and you're going to need a lot of radiator space to dissipate the heat, because essentially what happens is the hot water goes in the radiator, and then you have the fans blowing cooler air over the radiator, and then it's a heat exchanger. So essentially the heat gets taken from the water by the air passing across, and then the air comes out the other side warm. So that's where the exchanges happen. So cold air in, warm water in, and then you have warm air out, and then colder water out. So it's very simple. I know a lot of you are already going to be aware of that, but anyway. So yeah, you don't necessarily need millions of radiators to cool stuff, but you obviously do have to have a certain amount of heat that you can have exchanged. Anyway, right, next thing, a pump and a reservoir. This is an all-in-one unit. Sometimes you have separate ones. Obviously, with a pump, you need to make sure that a pump has got a good litre per hour, which is the amount of fluid that it will pump in an hour. But also, and probably most important, is the head height. Now this is the pressure that it pumps the water through at, and if you've got a lot of water blocks, the pressure or the head is more important. This is a all-in-one XSPC unit, which is perfectly fine for a small basic loop, but if you're looking at doing multi-block loops with like motherboard water blocks and graphics card water blocks and big radiators and hose going up and down all over the place, the DDC range or Lang range of pumps are brilliant, and also Phobia just do make some good pumps as well. So yeah, there is that. I will go into a little bit more about installation and stuff later. Then you have your water blocks. Now this is the CPU water block that comes with this kit, and it's one that's made by XSPC. I forget the name of it actually. It's the RASA, R-A-S-A, and basically this block with this mount that's on it will fit 775, 1156 and 1155 or 1366, but it also comes with mounts in the kit for AM2 and AM3, AM3 Plus as well. So I'll just chuck all this back in. Basically that comes with a back plate and all the mounts that you could possibly want for your rig. And that's actually quite a high quality water block as well, so big props to Special Tech for that one. Now hose. This is something that confuses a lot of people. Now if I bring this in, basically the inside bit there where I'm putting my finger, so that inside bit, the inside measurement, it's called the ID, the internal diameter. If you take the measurement that includes the outside of the hose as well, that's the OD, the outside diameter. Now I don't want to be preaching or anything like that, but I'm just trying to cover all of the details for those beginners. Now the barbs that come with this kit, basically the barbs go onto all of the fittings, the radiator, everything, the water block, they just get screwed in like that. But this is a 3/8 barb, which then you need 3/8 ID hose, and then that gets pushed in and that's it fitted. Now the only time that you need to consider the outside diameter is, for argument's sake, if you're using compression fittings, which compression fittings are like a barb, but then you don't need clips as the compression fitting goes over the top. Now a lot of people like compression fittings because they appear to be a lot safer, especially for a beginner, but if you follow the guide you don't really need them, and they also, with compression fittings, they're quite big and I think they're quite ugly. But essentially what you do, there are several different types of hose and barbs. The most common are 3/8 and 1/2 inch. If it was 1/2 inch hose, it would be 1/2 inch internal diameter and 5/8 external diameter. I personally buy 1/2 inch barbs and then I buy 7/16 hose. And the reason why is 7/16 hose is very tight, and you have to warm the ends up. You can do it with your hand, just kind of handle the end of the hose each time that you're going to fit it, make it a bit warmer. And when you push it over the barb, it's very, very tight, but it's so tight that you don't actually need any fittings on the end. Now that might sound scary to you, but if you go back and look at my previous videos, look for White Star, also look for Hellfire. Those, neither of them had barbs and fittings, but for a beginner we'll stick with this. So you fit the you have your barb and it gets screwed into whatever component that you want. You push the hose right on as far as you can, and then literally you can get clips like this, or you can get Jubilee clips. Jubilee clips are like the ones you see on the car, which are metal with a screw fitting, and then you literally just put it on and you pinch the clips together as tight as you can to make a good fitting, and when it's all on there they fit a lot tighter. Right, and something I was quite impressed with this kit is you get everything that you want. You get the amount of barbs that you need, you get all the fittings that you need, but also you get a set of these brackets, which back in the early days we used to pay about 15 quid for these brackets, and these are so that you can mount the radiator externally and it stands off the back of your case. So just to go over everything, we've got the pump and the reservoir here, the radiator, I've got to dig it out again now, the main CPU water block, because we're going to do a simple basic loop for this one, the hose, which you need to buy the corresponding barbs for. Just if you find the barbs or the hose size that you want, so say for argument's sake you want 1/2 inch internal diameter hose, you then need to buy a 1/2 inch barb. Going down a grade, if you want 3/8 hose, then you need a 3/8 barb. Just to confuse matters, the hose size and the barbs I prefer are 7/16 hose and a 1/2 inch barb. So right, that's everything you need there. So you've got your clips, your barbs, your hose, you get your CPU block, your reservoir and your pump, your radiator, and then obviously you're going to need a fan to go on your radiator, and then that's pretty much everything. What I'm going to do now is show you how to install this and the correct way to put it in your rig. Right then guys, we've stepped quite a bit forward here, but it's easier for me to explain to you once we've got some of the parts fitted. I've got the CPU block on there. There's so many different types of CPU blocks that basically all you need to do is read the guide. Make sure you read everything very carefully, and it's just like fitting a heatsink. Going back a step, when it comes to fitting your barbs, the official advice is to fit them finger tight. Make sure that they're tight as you can possibly get with your hand. If you're a bit weak handed, then you can just get a good old fashioned pair of pliers or a spanner that fits and give it a one last turn. But whatever you do, don't over tighten it, especially where most of the parts you're going to be screwing into are going to be plastic. You can strip the threads, so don't over tighten them. You can literally just do them up as tight as you can with your fingers. If you want that extra little bit of security, then you can just give it a little tweak, but don't go too far. I've gone for an internal loop where I've got the radiator at the back, and I've mounted it. I probably normally would have mounted the radiator right at the back, but I've mounted it in front of the fan just so it's easy to show you what's going on. What's a good idea before you start chucking your parts in is to get everything laid out and work out where you need the hose to go. And as far as loop order is concerned, the official kind of rule of thumb is, it's kind of like an unspoken rule, that you have the flow must go from your reservoir to your pump. Obviously we've got one all together, but reservoir to your pump, then into your radiator, and then into your water blocks. Now something that a lot of people get confused with is they think that you need to have it into your water block, and then the water will get hotter as it passes through the loop. So you have, like, if you've got multi-radiators, people will go radiator block, but you don't need to. Generally, the idea is the best way is just to make your loop look tidy. Don't go sort of like CPU and then into another radiator and then into your graphics cards and have all this big massive loop, because there is probably as little as 1 degree's difference about the actual loop order, so it's best to go with a tidier layout. And so basically what we've done is gone from the pump. You need to work out which way is out on the pump, which we know is this hose. So we've gone pump and the reservoir, up into the radiator, out of the radiator, into the CPU block, and then this is coming back out, which will be the return to the pump. But this hose could be going into the graphics card, could be into anything. Do you know what I mean? So if you've got, obviously you need more cooling space on your radiator, but you could have effectively have it going anywhere. And the same to go with loop order as well. It doesn't really matter too much the order that your components come in. When I was building water-cooled loops for customers, I would always go with the tidiest loop, not necessarily CPU first or graphics card first. I always just worked out how was the tidiest way to do it and then do it that way. So basically it's don't overdo stuff. just go for that tidy, clean loop. And also, when you cut your hose, you want to try and make the hose loop, so if you were doing it into another water block, as short as possible. But you just need to make sure that you don't get kinking. This looks like it's kinked up here, but it's actually where I've twisted the hose to go into the water block. It's not kinked or lost any of its size at all. But if you bend the hose too much, I'll do it on the end because it will be ruined. If you bend the hose too much, it kinks and it will fold. And if you look carefully there, you can see that the hose has now got a much smaller internal diameter, and that's what you don't want to happen. But the reason why I've stopped now is I wanted to show you how to do your hose from loop to loop. Now I've done most of it, but I just wanted to show you the last one because it pretty much counts for everything. We want the hose to come down here to the pump, which is going to be there, which is the return to the pump. Now, if it's going to be that long, I'd always cut it a bit longer because you can trim back. You can always cut shorter, but obviously you can't add it on. Now, when it comes to cutting the hose, you can use a really strong pair of scissors if you have to, but I wouldn't recommend that. It's easier to use a Stanley knife, or you can get special tools from Special Tech. Now, these are proper hose cutters. They do small ones and big ones for cutting the hose. Now, I've always used these. I've had these for 2 or 3 years now, and they're worth their weight in gold. If you're going to be doing a few loops, it really is worth getting something like this just so that you can do it properly. So yeah, basically, right, we want the loop to come down to here. Work out which way is best. I'm actually going to thread the hose through the other side to make it a bit tidier. Right, so we've got the hose out there. Obviously we want everything to be tidy, so it's worth taking our time. Now, get it down short, so that's going to be about right. So, that's where I want to cut it, but I'm going to cut it just a little bit longer. So I've got a bit of extra hose there. As you can see, that's a little bit long. So then we'll cut a little bit more off, just another centimetre or so at a time. And it's better to do it that way than, like I said, cutting too much off straight away. It's better to be safe than sorry. I'm going to cut one more little bit off. Now that's going to be perfect. Before I fit that though, I'm going to slide the clamp over so it's on there ready. Luckily this pump can move, so it's a lot easier for me to push the hose on. We push the hose straight over the top. What you need to do is make sure the hose goes right down to the bottom of the barb, so it literally can't go any further. And if you're using Jubilee clips, you now just do the clips up as tight as you can. But with these, you do them up as tight as you can with your fingers, and then you can just give it a little nip. So there we go. That's the loop built. Now I've left this one a little bit longer because of it going around the graphics card power, so it can go either side now, doesn't really matter. But essentially that's the loop built, and now all we need to do is fill it up and bleed. I'll show you that more now. I'm going to get everything ready to show you. Right then guys, I just want to show you this quickly, because when you bleed your system, you don't want electricity passing through all of your components. Now you can get a proper tool for this, but I always just use, basically all this is a paper clip bent over, and you put it in the green wire, must be the green wire, and then into any one of the black wires. I normally put a bit of insulating tape over this as well, so it can't short on anything else. Basically what that's going to do is jump start your power supply so that your pump will run, and then you've not got any worries that if you have any leaks, there's no electricity passing through anything, so you won't short anything out, and it gives you a chance to mop up the leaks, dry out your components without the risk of it dying literally straight away. So although this does look a bit crude, but not many people are going to want to pay like £3 or £4 for the tool for this, when you can get away with doing this and then just putting a bit of insulating tape over the top and it'll be perfectly fine.